It's Wednesday night, and I welcome you to this week's edition of NewsExtra. Of course, you know it is that program that brings you 90 minutes of news with that extra touch. Tonight, it is a potpourri of interesting stories, beginning with the Federal Executive Council with cheering news of a quick exit from recession. The National Assembly is done with budget defenses and back to plenaries. We have what the two chambers were up to today. Today was marked as Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. There is quite a bit on that. Are you diabetic with wounds that won't heal? There is a therapy that you should try. Watch out for it. And are you aware that the sweet potato you enjoy so much is much more than sweet? Find out the medicinal value of this tuber. Also tonight, we take a special interest on cashew, that fruit many love. What are the production challenges and economic prospects? Of course, we also have quite a bit on security. And sadly, an all-time football great has bowed out. We bring you the life and times of Diego Maradona. A potpourri, you will agree. That's the outlook. But I say don't just be aware of the outline. Stay with me for messages. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Buba, and this is NewsExtra. You're welcome. The Federal Executive Council is reassuring Nigerians that the current economic recession bedeviling the country will be short-lived. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, stated this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The National Bureau of Statistics recently reported a negative growth of -3.62% for the Nigerian economy in the third quarter of 2020. This is compared to negative growth of -6.1% reported in the second quarter of the same year. Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed, who briefed the council on the situation, said although technically the country is in recession, there is indeed a 40% improvement in the performance of the economy over the second quarter. She said 17 economic sectors are not only showing resilience, but also maintaining positive growth, including agriculture, telecommunications, cement manufacturing, and the creative industry.
This third quarter report, though a contraction, is much better than we expected. It's also much better than was projected by the IMF and the World Bank. This COVID-19 recession follows a pattern across the world today, with almost every country that has reported its GDP going into recession. Bringing it closer home, the South African economy in the second quarter of 2020 reported a negative growth of 50%. This is compared to Nigeria's negative growth of -6.1% in the second quarter of 2020. The trend of improvement between the second quarter and the third quarter clearly shows that this recession will be short-lived, and it indicates that we could actually exit recession in the fourth quarter, or worst case, in the first quarter of 2021.
The minister described vigorous implementation of the Economic Sustainability Program as critical towards achieving the objectives of taking Nigeria out of recession.
The ESP implementation is really on course, is focused. It will help us to exit recession. It will help us reset the country back on the path of growth that is sustainable.
Payment of federal workers' salary, the minister said, will not be affected, and that there are also no plans whatsoever to either retrieve or revise the 2021 appropriations bill now being considered by the National Assembly in consultation with the executive.
On the border closure, Mr. President has set up a committee that I chair alongside with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and other ministers, including Interior, Customs, Immigration, the security services, to review and advise him on the issue of border closure. The committee has just completed its work.
The report of the committee, the minister explained, will be submitted to the president anytime soon, and until he decides on the next line of action, the nation's borders remain closed. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, government is working towards reversing the declining economic trend that caused Nigeria to enter into recession. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, at the close of the 2020 Nigerian Economic Summit, said the COVID-19 induced recession has brought to fore the need for an all-inclusive approach to bring economic growth at par with population increase. Leah Katumba Batunde completes the story.
And for 2 days, policymakers, economists, the business community, opinion shapers and development partners converged on Abuja and the cyberspace to brainstorm and explore ways to recovery for Nigeria. Emerging trends and ways to mitigate the downsides, they agree, are imperative for building a veritable economy. Action is the general consensus at the close of the 26th edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit.
Recently, our youths have spoken and we have heard. I want to urge this summit team that will be sending in a report to just underline what Madam Awoshika said, that we need to set up a thinking group of youths from the ward level to the local government level to the state level and to the national level.
Including our youth in the processes as solution finders because of their skills, their innovative minds. We also try to make the shift from empowerment to investment, or we see a way to blend it.
It doesn't stop at a handshake between policymakers and the private sector, as there was a campaign for legislative collaboration in meeting the desired change for growth.
A more holistic framework, and I think that is what you're talking about when you say redesign.
Yeah.
It is redesigning with evidence that we want.
It is this generation's task to look the impossible in the eye and make it possible.
Planning for the future and robust youth population, as well as gender inclusiveness, were prominent features during the engagements.
Today we live in a country in which, for federal government colleges entrance exam or JAM, one state has a cutoff of X and another state has a cutoff of 10 times X, and you say you are building a nation. You are not.
No matter who you think you are right now, what position you occupy and what you're doing, if the nation doesn't work for all of us, we will all suffer.
Stakeholders departed with signals to unify efforts to see Nigeria emerge from the present recession by the first quarter of 2021. In Abuja, Leah Katumba Batunde, NTA News.
Actionable plans for short and long terms capable of the global economy to deliver sustainable development post-COVID-19 have been presented to the world. This was during a roundtable series of renowned economists convened by the Secretary General of the United Nations. Adebola Brooksling Sunday reports.
In the past 10 months, the coronavirus pandemic has precipitated one of the worst health, socio-economic, and humanitarian crises in over a century, which the consequences are negatively impacting the lives and livelihoods of billions of people globally. The virtual meeting brought together influential thinkers, policymakers, and economists to reflect and build on the outcomes of the first two roundtables in the series. Convener of the meeting, Antonio Guterres, wants real and foundational necessary change to assist developing countries solve their problems occasioned by the pandemic.
As a matter of fact, there has been a huge increase of liquidity in the world, but that liquidity has benefited developed countries. It has benefited middle-income countries with good access to financial markets that have good fundamentals.
Since those least privileged and poorest in society spend the most out of their incomes. Inclusive growth is the only way to achieve sustainable economic growth.
There is, big conversation on how we need to move forward with proposals that have massive counter-cyclical stimulus measures, universal social protection floors, aligning our recovery policies and packages with the SDGs and the climate agenda.
Other recommendations include building a new global system founded on social and economic inclusion, equity and environmental justice. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Now, about 40 billion naira has been approved by the Federal Executive Council for the maintenance of roads, as well as the control of soil erosion, flood, and pollution across the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the roads maintenance drive in particular to be undertaken by FEMA is in furtherance of the implementation of the Economic Sustainability Program.
It was the 34th meeting of the Council for this year and 25th to be held virtually in the new normal. A memo on the maintenance of federal roads considered by the Council was presented by Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola.
During the Economic Sustainability Committee meetings set up to manage the impact of COVID, one of the responsibilities of FEMA was to execute extensive labor works, road repairs, and the budget of 2020 was then amended to deal with the COVID impact. As a result of that, FEMA then had a total of 191 road repair, road rehabilitation, road intervention projects nationwide.
92 of those projects, he said, have been awarded by FEMA at its threshold level. 89 of them approved by the Ministry of Works, while 10 required the approval of the Federal Executive Council because of their financial implications. Out of the number, 3 were considered and approved by the Council for execution at about 22 billion naira in Yobe, Edo, and Taraba states.
These are late third quarter, early fourth quarter interventions to respond to the COVID impact of the economy. And this will tell you some of the things the Minister of Finance was saying, that the economic sustainability plan implementation is what will take us out of recession. So you see efforts to do that, and there's so many other departments doing different things. This is our responsibility.
In a similar development, Presidential Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, announced the approval of contracts for emergency procurement of the first and second quarters 2020 soil erosion, flood, and pollution control accelerated intervention projects across the geopolitical zones of the country at 17.7 billion naira.
Erosion and flood menace beside Yemkem House along Oye Ifakiti Road, Oye local government area in Ekiti State, given at 792,311 to be concluded in 9 months. Gully erosion control at Egbo Ide Community, Ugeli South, local government area, Delta State, awarded at 1.3 billion to be done within 6 months. And the last one, soil erosion, river channelization and slope protection within Maitama District Phase 2, FCT Abuja, awarded at 1.8 billion to be concluded in 12 months.
During the council meeting, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, and that of Power, Saleh Mamman, briefed members on their consultative engagements with critical stakeholders in their states of Enugu and Taraba respectively, in compliance with presidential order in response to the NSAS crisis in parts of the country.
They were also very keen to assure and guarantee the safety of all Nigerians from outside the zone, living within the zone.
The people promised to stop whatever that is going to breach fish in the states.
More ministers are expected to report their findings, observations, and recommendations to the Council on similar engagements in their respective states of origin. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has always had youths as centerpiece of its policies and had put in place initiatives to reposition and empower them. The Nigerian Youth Employment Action Plan was developed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development as a built-in strategy to respond effectively to the youth employment challenges in Nigeria. The major objectives of the plan are to provide Nigerian youths with investment inputs required to build successful businesses that can become sustainable employers of labor and contributors to Nigeria's development. These include the NPower, which 500,000 youths enrolled in 2 batches between 2016 and 2020, receiving 30,000 naira monthly, with enrollment of 3rd batch of 400,000 in progress. NYSC monthly allowance increment from 19,600 naira to 33,000 naira, with more than 300,000 beneficiaries monthly. 75 billion naira Nigerian Youth Investment Fund for businesses owned by young Nigerians aged between 18 and 35 has also been established for assessment by Nigerian youths. The global trend in war against insecurity, especially terrorism, is the adoption of multifaceted tactics. This implies that while soldiers and other security personnel are in the trenches, communication experts should be on the airwaves, intercepting and disseminating information relating to crimes. But at the moment, this seems far from Nigeria's war against terrorism. That is why the Senate has resolved to meet with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy to ensure immediate and full involvement of communications technology in tackling insecurity. State House National Assembly correspondent, Ignatius Onko, reports.
The issue of national security once again came up on the floor of the Senate as an issue that needs urgent attention. But this time, the motion by Senator Emmanuel Buacha is particular on the use of communication gadgets in assisting security personnel prevent crimes and fish out culprits. And to achieve this, there is need for parliamentary interface with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy.
Poor control over communication facility, this inability of our security apparatus and service providers to effectively manage this all-important sector. Bandits, terrorists, negotiate for ransom using telephones.
Ensure that he implements those provisions or those resolutions we have passed in the last Senate and in this Senate as well on how the communications subsector would aid in the fight against the insecurity that we have been facing.
Security issues continued with the second reading of the Nigerian National Commission against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons Establishment Bill.
To combat illegal importation of small arms, ammunition and light weapons, enhance coordination and where possible harmonization of intelligence.
3 higher institutions establishment bills were passed. The Federal College of Education Mutum Biu, Taraba State, Federal University of Technology Manchok, Kaduna State, and the Federal Polytechnic Aba, Abia State, while that of the Federal University of Agriculture Kaba, Kogi State, sponsored by Senator Smart Adeyemi, passed second reading. The revised Federal Capital Territory 2020 budget of 189.5 billion naira passed second reading.
This year we have seen a setback on the internally generated revenue, which necessitated this review.
The bill for the amendment of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act, which seeks to include law school as one of the beneficiaries of the TED Fund interventions, passed second reading. Senator Ishaku Abo, representing Adamawa North, defected from the PDP to the All Progressives Congress, citing conflicts in Adamawa PDP as reason for his defection. Senate has adjourned plenary to Tuesday, 1st of December 2020. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Onko, NTA News.
Infrastructure development across the 36 states and the FCT Abuja is among the top on the list of the federal government's priorities to ensure socio-economic activities. That is why the House of Representatives gave the go-ahead for the settlement of claims and liabilities incurred by states in the execution of federal projects. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The approval of the request, as recommended by the House Committee on Aid, Loans and Debt Management, is to enable the federal government to effect refund to 5 states to the tune of 148.141 billion naira. Rivers, Bayelsa, Ondo, Osun and Cross River States are the beneficiaries.
That governors taking benefit from the coffers of the government in the center here must make it known to their constituents in the state that this is a reimbursement from the central government to the sub-nationals.
The refund is going to be made through the issuance of promissory notes and bonds.
The House passed at second reading the issuance of more than 189 billion naira revised 2020 statutory budget for the FCT administration. House members at plenary Wednesday resolved to investigate Ministry of Foreign Affairs for alleged payments of allowances running into millions of dollars to staff who have already been recalled to headquarters from foreign missions, as raised by the minority leader Ndudi Ilumelu.
Maintenance allowance, transport allowance, medical and utility bill allowances.
Also adopted by the House is the need for authorities to address security threats on the campus of ABU and other tertiary institutions, as moved by Representative Garbadati.
This trend of ABU kidnapping staff every day is becoming alarming and worrisome.
The House Deputy Chief Whip Nkiru Kaunye-George's motion urging government at all levels to support elimination of violence against women was endorsed. Meanwhile, a valedictory session was held in honor of the outgoing clerk of the House of Representatives, Mr. Patrick Giwa, who retired from service.
Patrick Giwa rose through the ranks from being a committee clerk to deputy clerk and to the clerk of the House of Representatives. And in working with Mr. Giwa, I have found him to be the clerk par excellence.
The new clerk, Chinedu Akubweze, has assumed duties. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Petroleum Industry Bill, which both the Executive and Parliament believe will turn around the fortunes of the sector, is set for expeditious passage at the National Assembly. Correspondent Lami Ali again has the details.
We intend to pass this bill by the first quarter, before the end of the first quarter of next year. That is ceteris paribus, all things being equal.
24 hours after the House passed the bill at second reading, it set up and inaugurated an ad hoc committee to fast-track the passage of the bill, which by its provisions will bring about improved revenue, regulations, investment and development of host communities. Going by this bill, the PIB is said to be among bills passed in record time. At another session, the House Committee on Ecological Fund engaged stakeholders during a hearing on the bill seeking to regulate utilization of ecological funds.
Implement legislative solutions to the problem of ecological damage in our country.
The upsurge in the development of the ecological fund as sources of fund for government agencies created by the acts of the National Assembly is another albatross. This is a major deviation from the original purpose of creating the ecological fund.
But the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation pointed to loopholes which place the bill on collision course with existing agencies such as NEMA, NOSDRA, NEDC, and some recommendations of the Oronsaye Committee, Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, and Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures of Nigeria also made submissions before the committee. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has described his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, as a remarkable public servant who has put his vast experience and knowledge to the service of the world, celebrating his 76th birthday anniversary. In a statement, the president extolled his Chief of Staff, saying it is impossible to interact with him without being impressed by his erudition and colossal experience in his chosen career. He said, having worked with Professor Gambari during his time as a military head of state, he can testify that the senior diplomat is one of the most brilliant, dedicated patient and humble public official he ever met. The president said Professor Gambari's passion for service and patriotism is enviable and worthy of emulation by Nigerians who are seeking to excel in their chosen careers. He prayed Allah to grant him better health and longer life in order to serve Nigeria and humanity better. Up ahead, the global community amplify mobilization against all forms of violence against women, plus the life-saving aspect of maggots that would no longer make you feel repulsive at the sight or mention by the time you get to know about it right here on NewsExtra. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Violence against women and girls is one of the widespread, persistent and devastating human rights violations in our world today and remains largely unreported due to the impunity, silence, stigma and shame surrounding it. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, Ifeanyi Ezumba takes a look at this year's theme, which is Orange the World.
United Nations General Assembly designated November 25th as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The premise of the day is to raise awareness of the fact that women around the world are subject to rape, domestic violence, and other forms of violence.
Today is set aside so that people can understand and know why these vices must stop. Women are women. Any injustice on women is a violation of human rights.
Yeah, this is the time for us to advocate. This is the time for us to tell our sisters the truth. This is the time to tell the community that a woman should be given a chance. Tradition cannot kill us.
We've been talking about rightful legislation that affects their lives, the lives of the girl child, the lives of the women positively, and then urging the legislators to please help us pass it.
As countries implement lockdown measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus, violence against women, especially domestic violence, intensified in some countries.
I think that this day will also be able to point out to people that perpetrators will not go free. And for us as media, we should be able to be in the forefront of ensuring that perpetrators are brought to book. We should ensure that wherever it happens, we're able to bring it to national recognition, not in terms of giving them any pat on the back, but shaming perpetrators.
This year's theme for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women is Orange the World, Fund, Respond, Prevent, Collect. Like in previous years, this year's International Day will mark the launch of 16 days of activism that will conclude on the 10th of December 2020, which is International Human Rights Day. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
In commemorating the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, President Muhammadu Buhari has restated that governments at all levels are putting in place measures to curb sexual and gender-based violence, which has increased due to the COVID-19 lockdown. Momsodemian.t reports on the president's message.
Available data shows that the outbreak of COVID-19 contributed to the increasing rate of gender-based violence, especially rape. Stakeholders say the situation is alarming and calls for collective action against gender-based violence.
The Office of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Buhari, which this African First Lady Secretariat is part of her office, has been doing a lot. She has been talking about promoting the health and well-being of women and children under her Future Assured program.
The Nigerian Television Authority, ably led by the Director General Malami Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, decided to walk the talk, as it were, by launching a campaign. The essence of that campaign is for us to deploy the only resource we have, which is our platform.
African First Lady Peace Mission is fronting the campaign with the support of other development partners, observing the Day of Eliminating Violence Against Women, Experts call for stiffer penalty on perpetrators of the act, while victims have been encouraged to report cases of gender-based violence.
There's a lot of advocacy now, and people are beginning to come out and speak their mind.
This year team orange the word fund, respond, prevent, collect, unite to end violence against women. There is unanimous call for all to join the campaign so as to put an end to the menace by also educating the girl child and empower women. In Abuja, Linda Okorie Igwe, NTA News.
Well, like you've heard, that was Linda Okorie's report. We'll bring you that of Mamsudem Ndati talking about the president's message on the elimination of violence against women. So we apologize. Moving on, from women abuse, let's talk child safety. You know, people die every day. Painful as this is, when a child is involved, it seems doubly painful. More so when it is a violent death, like in an accident. It is to mitigate this child mortality occasioned by road crashes in the country that the federal government is developing a child road safety strategy. Oyemi Ajayi reports that the Federal Road Safety Corps, Marshal Buba Oyemi, is working with the World Bank to achieve this.
The Global Burden of Disease Study estimates that road traffic injury is one of the causes of death for children between the ages of 5 and 14, and the 10th highest cause of disability in Nigeria.
As per the global report, Nigeria lost about 1.8 billion because of our own peculiarity. And also between 2015 and 2019, 9,809 children suffered various degrees of injury, recorded from 1,884 road traffic crashes.
This narrative the Nigerian government says must stop, hence the need to develop safer roads for the Nigerian child. The stakeholders workshop on child road safety strategy for Nigeria, jointly organized by FRC and World Bank, provides a multi-sector consultation with emphasis on implementation.
Not only use of seatbelt, child restraint, it's not everyone that is privileged. But my own concern, we should start from these road hawkers. Most of the schools that are building, most of the people that are building their schools, I think most of the schools are being built on a highway.
The parents have to show example for the children to follow. Because even we, the adults, we are misusing the roads. We are breaking traffic rules and regulations.
Don't think you are showing your child love by allowing a 13-year-old child to drive a vehicle. Or that you are driving a vehicle and then you put your child on your laps while driving. These are dangerous things that we do that cause accidents and will lose children.
Experts at the workshop also noted that improving road safety is an important poverty reduction mechanism for a nation. In Abuja, Oyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
And we'll head to Kano now, where biotherapy, the use of live maggots to clean wounds, is one of the ancient traditional herbal Chinese medicine that has been in existence about 2 centuries ago. Now permitted to be administered on patients by Food and Drug Administration. Nigeria has keyed into the initiative, with Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital taking the lead. Fatima Sanusik RIA has one-on-one with some of the patients. Viewer discretion is advised.
I'm so happy. This maggot therapy saved my legs. They were about amputating it.
Ramatu Hakim has been suffering diabetic wounds for some time now, and the infection has spread to tissues and bone on her legs, which her doctor said could be life-threatening. But with just 2 hours to amputate her legs, her situation changed when she heard about maggot therapy.
When you hear the word maggot, what comes to mind is worms, decay, larva. Well, welcome to the technology era, where maggot is used to treat patients, and it is happening right here in Nigeria, in Kano.
and it's something which no surgical knife can do, because these little creatures, they can differentiate between living and dead tissues. And then when we start this process, they only concentrate on eating away or removing the dead tissues, what we call slough. And immediately when they get to the granulation tissue, that's the healthy tissue, they just stop.
Like Ramatu, Yusuf Naboda has also given up hope as his foot ulcer has taken its toll, spreading infections all through his body. But within 36 hours of administering Margot therapy, his story has changed.
Before this therapy, I cannot even sit on my bed, but now I can swing my legs. I'm getting stronger.
Margot therapy is a process of debridement involving the introduction of live disinfected maggots into the soft tissue of wounds, where the maggots clean the necrotic tissues within the wound by dissolving harmful microorganisms. Dr. Mustafa Yusuf is a trained entomologist at Malam Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, a lecturer and honorary consultant at Bayero University, Kano. He explained that the therapy is a standard and acceptable treatment, where he has treated 35 patients so far. Ramatu, who almost lost her leg to amputation, remained grateful to Margot therapy. So also Yusuf Naboda, who is looking forward to spending more time with his family. As he said, Margot therapy has brightened his horizon. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Garai, NTA News.
Therapy there, an amazing therapy, I must say. So we'll take you back to our earlier report by Momsodemi and Dati on the president's message on the elimination, of violence against women.
Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the subject of sexual and gender-based violence in all its forms has been recurrent, considering the alarming statistics of violence against vulnerable persons. The International Day of Eliminating Violence Against Women, therefore, presents a unique opportunity to highlight actions taken by the government to address the social evil at federal and state levels. These include establishment of a national tool for gender-based violence data management in the Ministry of Women Affairs, done in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, under the joint European Union United Nations Spotlight Initiative and other critical stakeholders. This is expected to serve as a consolidated database using a single harmonized data collection tool. Another is the setting up of a committee on eradication of sexual gender-based violence, inaugurated on the 23rd of July this year. It is an interministerial committee set up in response to increasing cases of violence in the country as a result of the lockdown measures imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19. As part of its mandate, the committee is expected to conduct a review on all the existing laws and policy instruments touching on offenses of rape, child defilement, and gender-based violence. Also highlighted is the improvement of the economic status of women to mitigate the socio-economic effects of the coronavirus pandemic. With over 1 million Nigerians enrolled into the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households, government, he says, has commenced cash transfers and distribution of food items to individuals and families across all states in Nigeria as palliatives to cushion the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. While his administration remains committed to eradicating poverty and enhancing growth and development for women and girls, it initiated programs such as trader money, market money, and farmer money under the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program. Fundamental human rights and freedoms are also areas promoted by the federal government to eliminate all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. Aimed at realizing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the African Union Agenda 2063, as well as the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action.
Many thanks, Momso. Now, how are you coping with the return of the doctor in your area? Yes, doctor. That's the geographical coinage for the Harmattan. Don't ask me why it is so called, but while I leave you to figure it out for yourself, we take this next report, where health correspondent Rabi Abdullah brings us the effect of the Harmattan season on human health and how to cope with it.
Once the year is about to end, somewhere around the middle of November, up to the month of March of the following year, the atmosphere is usually taken over by the dry cold wind, which originates from the Sahara Desert in North Africa towards the West African countries. This phenomenon is called Harmattan. The Harmattan season has adverse effects on human health, as it is usually characterized by widespread of airborne diseases coupled with dryness of skin.
You have very dry weather that is very mobile because of the wind. So all this carries a lot of particles along. People who are allergic tend to worsen within this period. The nose is usually the port of entry of inhaling these particles. The throat is not also free. It dries the wax in the ear that is supposed to be protecting the ear from infections. So our ears are more, amenable to getting infected within this period. Upper respiratory tract infections, they get worse within this period.
The new normal brought about by the coronavirus pandemic is seen by experts as a culture in the right direction, as they share tips on how to cope with the Harmattan season.
People should drink a lot of water within this period to limit the formation of kidney stones, sickle cell anemia. They are prone to having a lot of crisis for the same reason, because when they have so much dehydration, the blood, the serum that circulates now becomes unnecessarily thickened, and that's what triggers of what we call a sickle cell crisis. So such people should cover very well and take a lot of water. This is the time to wear your face mask. We are talking of COVID-19, but invariably, if you wear your face mask now, you're also protecting yourself from having these dust-induced or Harmattan-induced infections and problems, because this face mask will help you to filter these allergens.
This demonstration by Dr. Kingsley Osage, consultant pulmonologist, is a reminder on the correct way to wash the hands in view of the importance of hand wash hygiene practice in disease prevention. In Abuja, Rabi Abdullah, NTA News.
Very informative and educative tips there on how to cope with the Harmattan. Thank you, Rabi. Sweet potato, a root crop grown everywhere in Nigeria and a preferred meal on virtually every Nigerian family's table, has numerous medical and economic benefits, which comes in several improved varieties. Paul Abel examines the adoption and utilization of a special variety in the value chain called the orange-fleshed sweet potato in Nigeria's south-south region.
Sweet potato grows in marginal soils, making it resilient, easy to cultivate, and climate-friendly, with every part of the produce beneficial to humans and animals. Experts say sweet potato contains vitamins, magnesium, potassium, and protein, while the improved variety, orange-fleshed sweet potato, is the most nutritious due to its high beta-carotene content.
When you talk of anything potato, generally tubers, they contain a lot of starch. They contain a lot of carbohydrates.
The orange flesh sweet potato, it has some advantages. It's biofortified with vitamin A.
Whenever you have a high content of beta-carotene, it goes with high content of iron and zinc, and these two are very critical in the proper functioning of the body.
For farmers, the orange-fleshed sweet potato can be a money spinner, and the climatic condition of Nigeria makes cultivation of the crop a farmer's delight.
We are making money now on it, and I want every Nigeria to go into it because it can grow everywhere all over the country.
Every part of that plant is useful. So if we go into production and full value chain development of orange-fleshed sweet potato in the states, we will go a long way to help women and youth.
With enormous economic, nutritional and medicinal benefits of this improved variety. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development says it is championing advocacy for the adoption and utilization of orange flesh sweet potato, OFSP.
It has come to the knowledge of the ministry the immense wealth and health benefits in potato production, especially the orange flesh sweet potato. And as such, the ministry is willing to explore these opportunities.
The purpose of this meeting is to provide solutions to many challenges facing the popularization and adoption of the orange flesh sweet potato.
The youth of today should think about creating personal business with all the windows available.
The byproducts of the OFSP include chin-chin, gari, amala, chips. It can also be used as ingredient for some other commonplace Nigerian meals. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
Correspondent B. Thanks so much for staying. If you want to buy grains at affordable rate, Jigawa State is your best destination. We are told that as farmers round off harvesting of farm yields, prices of foodstuff, especially grains, are cascading in some markets, with buyers and sellers making brisk business. Ibrahim Belogunda visited the Gujungu Sunday market in Jigawa State and now reports.
Gujungu Weekly Market in Taura local government area of Jigawa State is one of the 3 big markets in the state, known for its high quality grains, among other attracting buyers and sellers from neighboring states and even Niger Republic. The volume of grains that come to the market is second to none, with one of the best prices, which is dropping gradually due to influx of yields from the farm.
We sell cassava 100 kg bag for 12,000 to 12,500 naira, which is cheaper than before, which cost 20,000 naira. We buy cassava from farmers at the cost of 11,500 naira each. We sell maize 13,500 naira for 100 kg, guinea corn 13,500 naira. Beans major is sold for 500 naira, while the bag is 20,000 naira.
The leadership of the market said they are ensuring peaceful atmosphere for good transactions.
We ensure everyone's safety and work against pickpockets, among others.
The Jigawa State Committee on Consumer Protection was on hand to arrest a seller who was caught cheating his customers by adulterating his grains.
We observe the market, and sometimes we get adulterators inside the market.
The market provides livelihood to many people that help in one way or the other to the success of all transactions. From Gujungu Market in Taura local government area of Jigawa State, I am Ibrahim Belogunda, NTA News.
And from Jigawa, we'll take you to Lokoja. Kogi State accounts for 40% of total cashew nut production in Nigeria, according to a 2018 report by the National Cashew Association of Nigeria. However, it is not a story with a happy ending for everyone. Jonathan Omajali in this report explores the gains and gloom of the industry in Kababunu local government area of the state.
Trees are everywhere. Homes, farms, and office premises, providing shades on a sunny day, food for the hungry, and a means of livelihood for many. The journey from the tree to the point of shipping is a long chain of business that includes young boys and girls. Wasiu has been in the business for 28 years. The thought of quitting never crossed his mind until 3 years ago, when price and demand began to crash in the community.
In the early stage, we have something 45, 48. So due to keeping inside store for the eat place, it goes by the didn't go affect the clear.
Exportable product from that crop is the kernel, and when you do not allow the kernel to get to maturity, you tend to reduce the quality.
For farmers in the state, there are other bigger problems to make them grow even more.
Kogi State is the highest cashew producing state in Nigeria, exporting about 100 metric tons. But for the success story to continue, farmers and stakeholders will need to deal with the problem of pests and diseases.
This particular government, they have done a lot in terms of increase cashew production. There's a cashew program in which they train youths in both cashew production, processing, and marketing.
Issues like smuggling, unauthorized collection of levies on cashew produce, and post-harvest handling must be addressed.
If there is an arrangement from the government that can move the revenue, that can monitor the revenue from local government level to the exporting point, and make sure that they realize it is graded properly, a lot of revenue will be accrued to government purse.
It is November and the trees are still months away from fruiting. No doubt there is still time for stakeholders to act and avert a bad year in the industry. Jonathan Omajali, NTA News.
Kwara and Kogi states do not only share a boundary, they have a lot of things in common. Cashew production is one of them. We have seen the Kogi experience. Let's get a feel of the cashew production challenges and prospects from Kwara State axis.
Cashew tree, Anacardium occidental, is a tropical evergreen tree that produces the cashew seed and apple. Cashew can be propagated using seeds of vegetable methods like grafting, budding, and layering, and takes about 5 years for first bearing when propagated through seeds. Nigeria is the world's 6th largest producer of cashew with an annual production of about 120,000 metric tons. Kwara State is blessed with a suitable land for mass production of cashew.
Cashew tree has been cultivated for food and medicine for over 400 years. Various parts of the cashew fruits are of economic value. They are the apple, the nut, and the kernel.
Rich in vitamin C, the cashew apple can be used to manufacture jams, soft and alcoholic drinks, while the nut can be used as confectionery and bakery. It is also used in the production of sweets, ice creams, chocolate, and paste. Umar Aboki, a cashew farmer, is the All Farmers Association of Nigeria chairman-elect in Kwara State.
I'm aware of the fact that the fruits of the cashew are being used for biscuits, animal feed, and what have you. But because of lack of industry, we threw them away.
It will give a lot of opportunity, not only in the rural area, but also in the cities. Because when we are talking about processing of cashew, transportation of cashew, packaging of cashew, export of cashew.
Some of the challenges associated in cashew production and cultivation are defective export packaging processes for the international market, poor handling of cashew, and problems associated with acquisition of large expanse of land and initial capital outlay.
They should bring cashew processing industries in either of these local governments, either Kayama or Baratin, because they produce in a very large quantity.
What caused the government to have a D7, D9, give it to the cashew farmer to clear their farm? We need improved seedling.
Where at the area where you really want to go in, I want to go into nut production. Oh, mine is transportation, mine is packaging, mine is processing. So, and I don't have to also delude ourselves. We may have to do some little training for people.
The submission of stakeholders is a more friendly policy by government at all levels to assist in the production of quality nuts for the international markets. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
If you know the dangers of desertification, you will appreciate the importance of afforestation. Obviously, the Minister of Environment, Mahmoud Abubakar, knows all about it, and that is why he is urging Nigerians to support federal government's renewed efforts at protecting forest and forest resources. The minister made the plea at a seminar to rejuvenate the impact of forestry to the environment held at the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria in Ibadan. Kemi Oshin was there.
Forestry has been a major contributor to the nation's economy even before independence, with between 5.3% and 6.1% contribution to the nation's GDP. This has, however, reduced to less than 1% recently. Investigations reveal that the decline in the contribution of forests to economy is not unrelated with the actions and inactions on the misuse of the forests and forest resources. The Minister of Environment, who participated virtually, called for a holistic approach to promote federal government's policies towards management of forest resources.
Human global population is currently at 7.8 billion. Predictably, this is expected to reach 8.6 billion by the year 2030.
50 years of forest intervention by key players in Nigeria has been described as one of the steps in value addition to both the environment and the nation's economy.
We have an issue of this climate change, biodiversity depletion, desertification, erosion and flooding.
Years ago, we have the grains everywhere. We have the forests in the southwest. We have in the forest in the north. But as technology advances, most of our forest reserves are gone.
There will be robust discussion technically that will give the researchers a lead way as to what are the problems.
To complement the 25 million tree planting agenda of the federal government, 50 trees of indigenous varieties were planted to symbolize intervention for forest preservation. In Ibadan, Kemioshi, NTA News.
And from Ibadan, we head to Lagos. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi says the massive investment in the railways is to achieve greater economic development and easier movement of cargo and passengers. The minister, during his monthly inspection of the Lagos-Ibadan railway project, also apologized to Nigerians for service interruptions on the Abuja-Kaduna route as a result of faulty locomotives, promising that more locomotives and wagons will soon be delivered to boost capacity. Dr. Ogunyemi completes the report.
Gradually, the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail line is taking shape, and the Ebute-Metta train station leaves little to the imagination of what to expect when completed, even at its present stage. Workers are busy with one job or the other, installing, fixing and grading, all in a bid to achieve deadline and the much anticipated resumption of passenger service. While it has become a routine inspection for the minister, this is the 28th since the project commenced, and the essence is to again put the contractors on their toes for timely delivery.
They've worked for over 3-4 months and they've not lost anybody. The implication that COVID is no longer an excuse. So we insist, and we've told the Permanent Secretary and I and the Chairman of NRC with the Managing Director and the Director of NRC, we've agreed that the technical committee should meet with them tomorrow to ensure that they put not policies, measures that will ensure that the pace of work is increased.
Issues around unresolved signaling system and other matters such as reduction of the workforce employed on the project and relocation of pipelines to link the rails with the Lagos port are set to be resolved.
We have come across such pipelines at Ijora. We are trying to see that we relocate them before we can move. But beyond that, works have continued to progress into the port.
A well-functioning rail system is an absolute imperative to unlock the potential of this economy.
And as the train runs faster, with every inspection, the Nigerian Railway Corporation is more confident that lives and businesses would benefit immensely when the rail begins commercial operations. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
So far, so good. We'll take a breather at this point, and when we return, find out who has embarked on a mission of peace and conflict resolution, where and why, as we talk security. Great to have you back. The Western Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy has flagged off exercise Shark Shiver in collaboration with the Italian Navy to again checkmate the activities of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Joy Ken Akpakwe reports that the exercise affords personnel of the Nigerian Navy to undergo several trainings as part of the commitment to ensuring better maritime security.
Setting sail is a norm for the Navy in the discharge of its constitutional role of securing the nation's maritime domain. This has been achieved through several operations and exercises that have in the past recorded successes. This time, the Italian Navy ship ITS Federico Mantinengo arrived the nation's shores to commence exercise Shark Shiver. Several ships from the Nigerian Navy fleet will be participating in the exercise to complement other series of exercises under the command.
This exercise is a combined exercise with one of our foreign partners, the Italian Navy. The issue of maritime crimes has international dimensions and could be characterized as a global challenge. This global challenge therefore requires a globally framed response and collaboration.
That has seen Italy partnering with Nigeria and with the Nigerian Navy in particular in its needs for increasing the security of the whole region. This is just a part of our wider excellent bilateral relations, which under the guidance of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari have increased in the past years.
The synergy with friendly forces like the Italian Navy is to strengthen the capacity of the Navy to combat maritime crimes in all forms. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakuya, NTA News.
And no fewer than 67 bandits armed with very high caliber weapons, including anti-aircraft guns, have been neutralized and several others injured in interdiction missions executed while the air component of Operation Hadarindaji at Burning Kogu Forest in Katsina State. In a statement, about 15 armed bandits were eliminated in airstrikes conducted by the air component at a forest in Zamfara State on the 23rd of November 2020, sequel to credible human intelligence report as well as aerial surveillance missions that led to the identification of the two forest hideouts, which housed scores of the armed bandits along with hundreds of Russell cattle. The Nigerian Air Force fighter jets and helicopter gunships dispatched by the air component to attack the two locations took turns in engaging the target areas and hit caves used by the armed bandits for shield. In another development, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, enjoins the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria to conduct independent periodic evaluation of the NAF operations to complement its international safety measures. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that the Air Chief stated this while receiving the President of the Institute, Dr. Malgui Haruna, at the NAF headquarters in Abuja.
Safety and security of ground and air operations are the watchwords of the Nigerian Air Force as it deploys highly technical service to protect Nigerians and Nigeria territorial integrity. This is evident in its ability to manage scarce resources to tackle internal security challenges across the country.
This
success story of the Nigerian Air Force in the area of developing enhanced international safety measures, the Institute noted, deserves commendation.
In line with our mandate, we wish to collaborate with the Nigerian Air Force to set standards of practice in high-risk operations and businesses in Nigeria.
We have been training safety officers in different countries, United Kingdom, US, Pakistan, India, and so on. But I think it will really be nice to see how we can build capacity in conducting such training in Nigeria. And I believe you have all that it takes to really have the training conducted in Nigeria so that we can conserve foreign exchange and also be able to work together with you to promote safety in all over the country.
The Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria was established in 1964 with a vision to re-engineer occupational safety. From the NAV headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Private security firms are evolving strategies capable of improving service delivery in line with the prevailing new normal that protects individuals from coronavirus. Stakeholders at the 13th Annual Conference of the Nigerian Institute for Industrial Security, NIIS Lagos, exchange ideas on how to improve on the existing protocols. Nen Leneke reports.
The more than 2.5 million personnel in the private security sector have contributed immensely to public safety by complementing the efforts of the police in particular. This gathering had experts revealing more strategies the institute can adopt in order to fulfill their mandate in an environment that is adjusting to the safety attitude required to combat COVID-19.
COVID-19 has posed a serious threat to the security of our country because economic downturn, loss of jobs, this creates a heightened rate of crime and criminality, and which requires a repositioning of, the security system.
These scenarios, which almost crumbles the activities of all sectors owing to COVID-19, necessitated the choice of the theme of the 13th Annual Conference.
We can no longer ignore the essence of COVID-19, and that is why the security sector must be up and doing, because they must make sure that we minimize the adverse effects on the people.
The Nigerian Institute for Industrial Security is the nation's first indigenous security certificate body with over 1,700 members in the West African sub-region. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has paid tribute to the former president of the Republic of Niger, Muhammadu Tanja, who died at the age of 82. An extremely saddened President Buhari said Niger Republic has lost a veteran leader with rich military, political and administrative experience. He praised the former president's contributions in the political spheres of his country and wished his friends and family and counterparts, President Muhammadu Yusufu, the family and well-wishers of the late President Tanja, the strength and fortitude to bear the loss. President Buhari said the thoughts of the government and people of Nigeria are with the entire people of Niger in this period of sadness. President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami, over the passing of his daughter Aisha. The president, through a phone call to the bereaved minister, condoled with all members of the family on the sad event, urging comfort in line with the teachings of the Holy Prophet on the transcendent nature of life. President Buhari prayed Allah to accept and admit the soul of the departed into Al-Jannatu Firdaus. The management and staff of the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy have condoled with the Minister Isa Pantami on the death of his daughter Aisha Pantami. A statement from the ministry says the Permanent Secretary, while describing Aisha Pantami as a brilliant and promising young girl, prayed God to grant her Al-Jannah and protect her from the torment of the grave. He urged the minister not to allow the incident to disturb the derail him from the course he had set for the ministry. And one of the greatest football players of all time, Diego Maradona, is dead.